The mechanic, the welder, the splicer, reloading ammunition to programming an 800-mile trek, Washington to Alaska, on state-of-the-art GPS equipment while plotting the same course on coffeed-up, penciled-up paper charts.
With all the 7 kids, I'm the middle child. Which makes sense. There's a cat around me. So I didn't plan anything out to say. I just said I would speak. But just looking at all the pictures yesterday, I always love, and Don is my stepdad, for those of you who don't know. Our family doesn't like the word step. We like to just say he's our bonus dad. My biological dad wanted me to share that he always felt like Don respected him. Our family was weird and great in the way that everybody loved each other, no matter who was married to who at what time.
Makes airplanes with me, and he does fun things with me, and he lets me go to the mall with him. And he lets me go bike-riding with him.
Thank you, Daniel.
Love my dad. Cannot tell you how many times I've said that to friends and family and perfect strangers. I love my dad. So let me just tell you a little bit about him. One of my all-time favorite people. During his time here on earth, he was a grandson, a son, a brother, an uncle, a husband. He was an incredible father, a bonus dad, stepdad, father-in-law, grandpa, great-grandpa. He was a friend. He was a role model. He was a Christian.
My name is Bradley, and I am Grandpa Don's grandson. The thing he taught me was to ride a bike, shoot a gun, and lots of other stuff. My favorite thing was when we went on bike rides and went on trips. On my birthday, we went on a trip, so then Grandpa and my dad could go deer hunting. And whenever he said, when I was scared and thought coyotes would come, he said, I would take a beer, stand up big, and scream.
Very good.
And whenever he had whenever a BB gun would affect my arm, he would cut it and make tape so then it wouldn't hurt my arm. I love you, Grandpa.
Baby K. Don was my big brother, and we had another big brother who died in his 30s, so it was Don and I. But I guess I just needed to say that we just really didn't appreciate each other. At least I didn't appreciate Don. He was my big brother. He teased me unmercifully. I hated it. And I always got him in trouble. Dad, Don did. And so he got in trouble, so he didn't like me. We were just never close as children. We've got a lot of brothers and sisters here, and maybe you all understand that. Maybe it was just in our family, but I didn't know him a whole lot until later on. Except we both got our cheeriness from someplace. Our mom and dad were both very, very strong individuals, and we just did it together, I guess. I just wanted to share one quick story with you, and that is that we were Thanksgiving. We were both young, and we used to always get together with our next door neighbors. And Mom had turkey on the stove, and she had a big pot of gravy, and she spilled it. It was on the floor, and I was right there, and Don walked in, and he started to say something, and Mom said, "Don't you say a word." The gravy went from the floor back into the pot, and we went to dinner. And nobody knew about that for many, many years until Don started laughing about it. It may have been after our mom was gone.
I'm the other K, the other baby K, the youngest of Dad's kids. Hard to talk about things when you want to cry, but I really like the part where we pick on him. He really loved to pick on everybody. He was never afraid to dish it out, and he was never afraid to take it, and he would dish it out, but he'd always come to you and tell you how much he loved you, and he never just left it at only picking on people, and he just made sure that everybody knew that he was just having a good time, and he was always so proud of us. And so I'll say he taught me good table manners, and to chew with my mouth closed, and I always thought it was so funny that I heard so many times to get my elbows off the table, and to chew with my mouth closed, and to hold my fork right, and then he would do all those things. I never saw him with his elbows on the table ever. But then what he would do is he always had these hankies with him. So at the table, he was never afraid to just pull them out of his back pocket and enthusiastically, loudly blow his nose at the table. So I never really got how that worked.
I just wanted to say that Dad really, really loved his grandchildren. He could be a little difficult sometimes, because he'll do something and it makes sense to him how to do this particular project, and sometimes it didn't always make sense to the rest of us how he was doing this project, and he'd get flustered and frustrated, and then grandkids came along and it was like he had all the patience in the world.
But one story that I have of Uncle Don is that obviously he was an outdoorsman. He was a serious outdoorsman. He was not kidding around. My father was a total tenderfoot, and he was not a good hunter, and he was not a good fisherman, and he was not a particularly good athlete. And Uncle Don was a pretty talented guy. Well, they went on a hike once. And they were at the Hull Cabin, which for those who don't know is in the Lewis and Clark Range, many miles outside of Great Falls, Montana, where they grew up. And this cabin it backed up to a very steep slope, which then ended in a cliff. And I don't know how high this cliff was. I'm not particularly good at this sort of thing. Uncle Don would have been able to tell you the number of feet high, approximately, that it was, but it was many, many feet high. This is Rocky Mountains, a serious cliff. My grandmother, so Uncle Don's mom, Grandma Lucille, went out and was looking for them and calling them, and looked up. And they had decided that they were going to climb up that rock wall. And they were about a quarter of the way up, I think, is when she saw them and freaked out. And so she screamed at the two of them, "Come down!" And they screamed back down at her, "We can't." So what he told me is that they had to climb, they got up only about 20 feet. And I don't think that they planned to climb to the top, but they were just climbing up, and they realized they were not able to get back down without falling, so they had to go up and over the top. And so they climbed this several hundred foot cliff, and Uncle Don said that they got to the top, and my father, of course, was clumsy. He was not a good climber and was not particularly coordinated. And the final thing that they had to do was, there was a chimney of rock, as I recall this story. So it sort of went in like this on a diagonal. And they could see that there was a little bit of foliage coming over the top, so they were at the top. And Don sat at the bottom of this chimney, and he sent my father up. And he said, "If you fall, I'll catch you." And my father had to actually, the last part was just, there was no handholds. It was just scaling. It was just using your force to sort of wiggle his way up. And Uncle Don said he got to the top, slowly, and he got to the top, and he grabbed a handful of the foliage and went to pull himself up, and it came out, and he fell. And Uncle Don said that he said that he wouldn't have bounced more than about twice before he hit, all the way down. And he said that he came and I don't remember exactly how this happened, but Uncle Don stopped him. I don't think he caught him. I don't think it was particularly comfortable or easy, but my Uncle Don saved my father's life that day. And then they climbed over the top, and apparently my grandma and grandpa had to drive all the way around and pick them up and drive them all the way back. I remember asking whether they were angry, and my recollection is that they were too relieved that the two of them had actually survived this to actually be angry. I don't know if that's right or not. Probably Auntie Kay knows. But I'm grateful to my Uncle Don, not just because.
Exactly. The comment about Don not being a step. To read that's the same way. So, loving guy, really knows him. And that went for all of his girls, including Bree. So he got treated the same. And you knew you weren't going to mess up with Don as a father. You learn a lot about people when they live in your house twice for extended periods of time. And we became very good friends. I'm going to finish with this. It's real good. Michael liked this, everything stuff. When they lived in Aberdeen still, Don had this little float plane, very lightweight, little small plane, that he loved flying, and he knew that I flew. So he took me out, and we're flying along, and he never treated me like I was little. He says, "You want to take over the plane?" And I'm like, "Don, I can't reach the rudders. They're set up for you. You're going that far away." So the next thing that happens, we go along, cruise along. You will love this. Transponder in the airplane, it's the little thing that you turn on that tells the radar where you are and that you're actually up there. We hear over the radio, there's Cessna jets, 42, whatever, singing through 8,000 feet to the main regional airport right there that's on track with us. We were right under the clouds. And I said, Don, your transponder's not on. And he says, yeah, I never do worry about that. I said, Don, there's a plane coming right through the clouds at us. He took care of us. We made it home. Anyway.
But I do have some memories of him. My one I now have the best is the one from Christmas, but that was really recent. But I remember one time we were visiting Grandma and Grandpa in a cabin or something. I just remember it was really snowy outside. All I remember, sitting on the floor playing with my Bionicle Legos. That's what I remember. And I always would say, I still believe this actually. We were on a ferry and went to Alaska. I don't care what anyone says. Yes, I have.
Okay.
We went to Alaska on a ferry. No one can convince me otherwise.